Hello and welcome to yet another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. If you're watching this on video, this is not a podcast. This is a video where I talk about podcasting. You can get the podcast at podcastpontifications.com. Let's talk about organizing podcasters. It's been 15 years. There are lots of people out there making podcasts. It's time to come together as an industry and do things right. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. This is kind of a recurring topic. Organizing podcasters, getting all the podcasters together, having an industry body, if you will, whose job is to protect, look after this thing that we do called podcasting. And so let's all band together and form this single entity that can do nothing but help us. Well, okay, like I said, this comes up a lot. I've seen it many, many times, and I'm skeptical. I'll be really honest that I'm skeptical about the ability for us podcasters, to collectively assemble ourselves and create any sort of a meaningful organization. And I'll give you, I'm not going to give you one reason why. I'm going to give you 600,000 reasons why. And that's because that's how many podcasts there are. There are a lot of podcasts out there serving an incredibly diverse range of tastes and styles and approaches. And the only thing that they all share in common is that they're audio content distributed on the web. That's it. There's really not any other commonalities between them. There are lots of commonalities that many podcasts share, but if you look at across all 600,000, really the only thing they share in common is that it's audio content distributed on the web. And I'm sorry, that's just not enough to organize all of those groups together. Now, don't get me wrong. There are needs. There is a need. Actually, no, there are multiple needs why people who are podcasters might want to get together. But for individual reasons, individual, very specific things. Like, say, for example, podcasters who wish to monetize by placing ads in their shows. Well, guess what we need is some sort of very good standards bureau, much like the IAB, that's the Internet Advertising Bureau, and their ability to say, this is what constitutes a download. This is how we track information. Here's how streams should work. We need all of that. We also need some sort of setting prices so that it's at least somewhat uniform and consistent, so there's some way to judge it. We need that. Likewise, we also need a group of people. Let's back up again. Let's say that you are a podcast that is utilizing creative elements that are not your own. I'm talking about music primarily here. There is definitely a need for a group of people who are supporting the rights of podcasters to utilize other copyrighted works in a proper way inside of their shows. We need copyright reform. Everybody knows that. We need tort reform. We need some sort of legal protections. What happens if we are sued? There completely needs to be a group that's dedicated and focused around that. But it's going to be very different for multiple podcasts. We need a group that's responsible for making sure that the people who are doing this for a living, who maybe they're doing voice acting work or other sorts of things, for a fee, maybe that those people are properly compensated. That makes sense to organize around. But just the fact that you have a podcast and I have a podcast doesn't mean our goals are aligned enough to where we should be part of a big, huge collective that all 600,000 plus shows are a part of. Now, I fully support the idea of creating smaller, more specific need groups. Like, I'm trying to start a Phoenix group right now of podcasters. We've got a little over 100 people inside of it. Very diverse needs. We're only trying to organize because we share proximity together. And we produce audio content and push it out on the web. But it's that physical proximity that helps us organize and helps us communicate and collaborate with one another. That makes sense. But I'm less likely to, well, I shouldn't say I want to support it. I'm less likely to see the success of anybody who has the lofty goal of wrangling everyone together. And listen, politically, I'm one of those crazy globalists who thinks that there should be one society to rule them all, right? I've read the Ian Banks Culture series. I like that idea, but it's an idea. And in practice, it's a lot more difficult to do. In this particular instance, the concept of organizing podcasters, I find myself much more aligned with I hate to say this, but the nationalist point of view. I get it. If you're producing audio dramas, the audio drama group should all get together. I don't care whether it's fiction audio drama or science fiction audio drama, old-timey comedy drama. There are things they need to do collectively together. That's worth organizing. But podcasting as a whole, who's out there organizing the bloggers? Okay, you might say there are some groups that are trying to do that, but if you look really deeply in it, the groups that organize bloggers aren't all bloggers. They're professional groups, people who have blogs so they can get ads and placed on them. They are the Professional Travel Bloggers Association. Highly specifically niche, which is very different. Some person sitting in his work office pounding out his day of tucking on the sales calls isn't the same thing as somebody who's writing travel blogs. There's no connection there. Where's the organization that organizes all sorts of publishers, all sorts of website builders? They don't exist. Look, I hate to say it, podcasters, but I'm going to say it, and it's probably going to be a little insensitive, but we're not that exceptional just because we have a podcast. We are not exceptional enough that requires us to do something unique. It's just audio content delivered on the web. Maybe you think that cheapens it. And I'm sorry if you do. But look, you're not special just because you can make audio content and distribute it on the web. You're special if that audio content you distribute on the web is fantastic and people want it and love it, and you find other people. You should totally connect with the other people that are making the same kind of audio content or a similar audio content to what you're doing, or who share your common goals and your vision and the true north of where you want to take things. But just because you happen to talk into a microphone, that's not enough. Sure, you can organize the radio industry because radio has to deal with things like the FCC. You have to have a license to do this kind of stuff. That makes perfect sense. But, posting recipes on a website doesn't take anything. Doing a podcast where you read recipes, your own recipes, every week and post it, it doesn't mean that you need to be connected to people that are making great political podcasts. You can connect with them, but the idea that one giant body or one small body that represents all of the ideas, it's just automatically diluted. I think there's a lot more power in the individual needs of highly niching down. Just like there's success, just like there are riches in the niches for podcasting, I think that's the way these organizational thoughts ought to go. Niche down your organization. Give podcasts a reason to join that are in that niche. Represent those rights, those ideas. That's going to be a lot more successful than trying to do one big umbrella organization or even one small umbrella organization. Just don't see that happening anytime real soon. In fact, it's just going to get worse because there's 600,000 shows this year. Next year, over 1 million. Over 1 million. Good luck representing all of those, especially if you're a business. Hey, speaking of business, here's my pitch. I launch business podcasts. Want to do that? Need some help? evo@podcastlaunch.pro. Check out podcastlaunch.pro for all the stuff that I do for people. And I shall return tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers.